This boy's name is Maehara Maki. Today is the first day of a new school year, and for someone as closed off as him, situations like this are quite uncomfortable. After everyone in the class finished filling in the basic information, the teacher asked each person to introduce themselves. Maki tried to be as brief as possible, but even so he ended up being called. He stood up, quickly said his name, and then the teacher decided to ask if he had any hobbies. Upon hearing that, Maki hesitated for a moment before answering that sometimes, when he has free time, he likes to order pizza, drink soda, and play games. That was when the teacher realized that maybe she had asked the wrong person. But she tried to continue the conversation and asked if he liked anything else. After thinking a bit, Maki said that he also liked to watch movies about sharks or fish. With that, the atmosphere in the classroom became a bit strange, with no one really knowing what to say. To change the mood, another student decided to introduce herself in a more lively way. Her name was Amami, a beautiful and energetic girl. Apparently, if she tried a little more, she could easily be one of the most popular in the class. You came from an all-girls school, but decided to transfer there precisely to have more contact with other types of people. Besides her, there was another transfer student called Asanagi Yumi. You, all excited, pulled her friend forward and introduced her to the class. In just a few moments, the heavy atmosphere in the room completely changed. Maki, sitting in the corner, watched everything in silence. For him, it did not matter who was popular or not. As the days went by, he began to think that maybe it would be better to continue alone. It was not like he did not want to have friends, but his quiet personality made it difficult. Even so, he thought that having a group to laugh and talk with from time to time could be something nice. One day, while he was in the classroom, Maki ended up overhearing by chance a conversation between Yumi and Yu. Yumi commented that she wanted to go to the cinema to watch a movie. Yu became interested, but when she saw what it was about, she was surprised, since she did not expect Yumi to like that kind of film. When the two passed near him, Maki ended up seeing what the movie was and was surprised to realize that they had similar tastes. Later, on the way home, Maki stopped at a rental store to choose a DVD. While he was looking at the options, he ended up bumping into Yumi, who had already been there for a while, although he had not noticed. Without really understanding, Maki saw that she started a conversation with him. A bit awkwardly, he asked if she needed something, and Yumi commented that she noticed he had been listening to the conversation earlier. Maki tried to explain himself, saying that they were talking too loudly to ignore. In truth, Yumi was just teasing, since the real reason she was there was another. She then handed him a sheet with her preferences, something based on what he had said in the classroom. Maki was surprised to realize that her tastes were practically the same as his. It was at that moment that Yumi showed interest in getting closer and suggested that they could be friends. Not long after, she even asked for movie recommendations to watch. Over time, the two gradually became closer. At school, they pretended not to have much intimacy, but outside of it, they already talked a lot. At a certain point, Maki even invited her to go to his house to watch movies. They bought some snacks, played video games, and spent time together until nightfall. When they were saying goodbye, Yumi noticed that he was looking at her a lot and commented on it in a somewhat suspicious way. Before leaving, she invited him to go out again the following week. Maki was surprised and a bit worried about the possibility of someone finding out. Yumi, however, said that there was no problem, and that if someone asked, they could even say that they were dating. That left Maki completely speechless, even though she was just joking. The next day, upon arriving at school, Maki saw Yumi talking normally with Yu, as if nothing had happened. Later, while looking for a place to have lunch, he ended up witnessing someone confessing to Yumi. Before he could leave, Yu pulled him closer, wanting to follow the situation. After hearing the confession, Yumi rejected it, as she had done other times, and left. Later, Maki commented about it with Yumi, even attracting a lot of attention. She seemed to handle the situation well, while Yu still stood out more than her. Maki, on the other hand, thought all of this was a bit tiring. For him, the more attention a person receives, the more complicated things become. Even so, he understood that people like Yumi and Yu lived differently. While he preferred something more peaceful and without pressure, Yumi disagreed a bit, saying that he exaggerated. But deep down, she liked this more reserved side of him. For her, that was something interesting. Maki also began to think in a similar way. Even without realizing it, the two were creating a special friendship. In the end, they continued spending time together, playing and talking, enjoying those simple moments, and so, they scheduled another meeting, ready to continue having fun in their own way. At that moment, Yumi was also making up some excuses for her two friends, all to be able to go out alone with him. The two even started to suspect that she was dating, but Yumi denied it immediately. Not long after, Maki arrived home, changed clothes, and went to the train station to meet her. When Yumi appeared, she looked at him for a moment and burst into laughter. Since Maki was dressed in clothes that were too dark, exactly as she had imagined, she commented that, next time, he should wear something with brighter colors. That made Maki think that maybe there would not even be a next time. Soon after, the two passed by a game store. During the way, Yumi asked him to start calling her by her name. Since they were already friends, Maki felt a bit embarrassed, but accepted and also told her to use his name normally. Upon hearing that, Yumi teased, saying that it sounded like something people very close would do. Maki replied in the same tone, going along with the joke. Later, after walking for some time and talking about simple everyday things, they decided to stop at a fast food stand to rest a bit and eat something. While they were waiting for the order and then started eating, Yumi casually commented that she had recently watched a shark movie, and that, surprisingly, she had found the experience interesting and even engaging. Taking advantage of the light mood of the conversation and the topic at hand, she ended up inviting Maki to watch one together the following week, as if it were something natural between the two of them. While they were talking calmly, Maki noticed that some people around were discreetly looking in their direction, clearly attracted by Yumi's presence and the situation. It was then that, without any prior warning or sign that she would do that, Yumi declared out loud that Maki was her boyfriend and, as if she wanted to reinforce the act even more, tried to feed him a French fry. The scene, unexpected and eye-catching, drew even more attention, making several nearby people look directly at them, some even whispering among themselves. Even knowing that all of that was nothing more than an improvised act, Maki ended up going along with it, since he did not have much choice at that moment. Even so, he could not help but imagine that, after that public scene, the two might end up becoming the center of attention at school. Some girls, in particular, were shocked to see someone like Yumi pretending to be in a relationship with a guy as reserved as him. Upon hearing certain comments full of judgment, Yumi showed irritation and even wanted to confront those who were talking, but Maki stopped her, saying that it was not worth getting involved in something like that. After finishing eating and leaving the place, the two continued the outing, walking without a defined direction and enjoying the time together, which ended up being more fun than Maki had initially expected. At a certain moment, while Yumi stepped away to go to the bathroom, Maki ended up running into Yu's group nearby by chance, immediately worried about the possibility of them finding out that he was with Yumi. He tried to call her to warn about the situation, but he could not reach her in time. When he was about to leave to avoid complications, Yu suddenly appeared, pulled him to talk, and, in a friendly way, invited him to join the group. Maki was surprised by the unexpected invitation, but soon realized that the other people present did not seem very excited about the idea of including him there. Because of that, he decided to politely refuse, believing that his presence could cause some discomfort in the group. Even so, Yu did not show any annoyance with the refusal and continued talking to him normally. During that conversation, Maki commented on a few things spontaneously, without realizing that Yumi, on the other side, ended up hearing everything through the phone. It was at that moment that Yumi revealed a bit more about herself, saying that she had not always been like she is now. In the past, she used to be frequently chosen as a group leader or class representative, and at first everyone seemed to value that a lot. Over time, however, people began to see it as something ordinary, and the way they saw her started to change when they discovered more about her personal tastes and her true personality. Despite that, Yumi commented that now she had at least one friendship in common, referring to Yu, which seemed to have some meaning for her. Shortly after, Yu received a message from Yumi briefly explaining the situation. After all that, Yu ended up becoming worried, thinking that she might have upset Maki without realizing it. The next day, as soon as she arrived in the classroom, she went straight to him and apologized for what had happened. Maki, in turn, calmly explained that there was no problem at all, since he understood that her intention was just to include him and be kind. That ended up making Yu feel more relieved. During the conversation between the two, Yu ended up mentioning without meaning to that they had already exchanged phone numbers before, which immediately caught the attention of the entire class. The revelation generated general surprise, since no one expected that she had gotten so close to someone like Maki. After that, he started receiving several curious looks and discreet comments, which made him a bit uncomfortable. Later, the three decided to go out together again, as a way to spend more time together and strengthen their bond. During the outing, Yu commented that she had always seen Yumi as a more reserved and hard-to-approach person, but had no idea that the two had already become so close to the point of calling each other by name naturally. At a certain moment, they noticed that someone named Nina was following the group from a distance. Upon noticing this, Yumi reacted quickly, grabbing Maki by the hand and running off, trying to shake off whoever was watching them. Since Maki's house was nearby, he suggested that they go there, considering that it would be a safer and quieter place. When they finally managed to meet again, Yumi directly asked why Maki and Yu had exchanged contacts before. With no way to avoid the explanation, he told what had happened at that moment in the past. Yu then commented that it had probably been her own fault, since she always tried to bring him closer to others and include him in social situations. Maki replied by saying what he truly thought about all of that at that moment, being honest about his feelings and his way of seeing the situation. Upon hearing his words, Yu interpreted that he cared a lot about Yumi, which ended up leaving both of them embarrassed for a moment. Even so, the misunderstanding was resolved naturally, and the three managed to understand each other better. In the end, Yu was happy to also have the chance to get closer to Maki and gradually build a genuine friendship among them. On a new school day, Maki arrives in the classroom without drawing attention, as usual. However, Yu quickly notices his presence, approaches him to greet him, and even calls him by his first name. She asks how he is, acting in a very familiar way, which leaves Maki visibly tense, since it ends up attracting the looks of everyone around. Because of that, he responds simply, without much enthusiasm, which makes you ask why he seems so distant. Maki, in turn, does not know what to say. At that moment, Nina approaches, confused by the way Yu is treating Maki, and asks if the two are close. Yu does not understand the reason for the doubt and answers naturally, saying that she is talking to Maehara Maki, as if it were something obvious. This makes Nina think that maybe she forgot something important. Then Yu explains that she recently spent some time with Maki, and that now they are friends, which he confirms. However, by saying that out loud, it ends up drawing even more attention, and soon the other students begin to whisper, some even suggesting absurd things, as if she were forcing something. Maki realizes that the situation is becoming embarrassing, while Nina remains curious and asks what happened after they went out together. Yu simply answers that it is a secret. While they talk, Maki receives a message from Yumi, apologizing for all that unnecessary attention. When the break arrives, the three end up going to a more secluded place inside the school. It is a calm space, well lit and with some benches, perfect for staying without drawing attention. Maki comments that he is glad they liked the place, but while cleaning the table, he thinks that he never imagined that one day he would be having lunch with the two of them. Shortly before that, Yu had directly invited Maki to have lunch with her, which again drew everyone's attention. This time, Yumi quickly approached and whispered that it was not a good idea. Yu, in an innocent way, explained that she remembered Maki saying that he did not like crowded places, so she thought he would feel more comfortable having lunch with few people. While she spoke, Maki felt the looks of the others, especially the boys, which made him even more uncomfortable. Yumi then suggested that she should join them as well, since they had spent time together the day before. The idea came up suddenly, surprising both of them. But when questioned, Maki ended up accepting. With not many options, everyone agreed. Already seated at the place chosen by Maki, he comments that if they were seen together in the cafeteria, they would draw even more attention. so he preferred that more isolated place. When they begin to show their lunches, Yu gets excited upon seeing Maki's omelette and asks if she could trade a little for something of hers. He accepts, although he warns that it might not be to their taste. While eating, Yu asks if he usually prepares his own food, and Maki answers that he sometimes does that, since his mother works a lot. Upon hearing that, Yu comments that he is more responsible than her, but asks not to be compared like that. Soon after, she praises his food, which catches Yumi's attention, who also wants to try it. However, upon tasting it, she makes a somewhat displeased expression, murmuring that it is unfair for it to be that good. After they finish eating, Maki takes out some desserts, which sparks Yu's curiosity. She asks what was the best thing he has ever made, and he answers that it was probably souffle-style pancakes made only with banana and eggs. Upon hearing that, Yu dramatizes the situation, saying that she thought she could compete with him, since she also likes making sweets. But now she realizes that she was aiming too high. Yumi tries to cheer her up, telling her not to give up. Maki comments that it is not that difficult, since it is enough to follow tutorials on the internet. That makes Yu a bit frustrated, saying that it only seems easy when he says it. Even so, she shows a desire to try something like that. Seeing that, Maki offers to prepare it for her someday, which immediately excites her. Suddenly, Yu asks if she can go to his house that very day. Maki is surprised, but seeing her excitement and animated expression, he ends up accepting. Yu thanks him happily and even says that she wants Yumi to go as well. Then, she runs off to buy some things. After she moves away, Yumi comments that Yu really is a very good person. Maki agrees, saying that although he already knew that she was lively, now he sees her differently. He tries to describe it, but ends up comparing her to a little dog, which makes both of them laugh a bit. Soon after, Maki asks if they should not avoid talking about her like that. Yumi understands the point. Since Yu cares a lot about what others think, Maki remembers that he has always been somewhat isolated, so he does not care much about comments. But even so, Yumi asks him to let her know if something happens. After all, Yu is one of the most popular girls in the class. Upon hearing that, Maki tries to pretend that he did not care, but he clearly noticed. Yumi keeps smiling and says that everyone comments on that, and that it would be strange if it were not like that. Maki then reflects and comments that no one knows exactly who started saying that, but it ended up becoming a kind of ranking, where Yu is considered the most beautiful and Yumi the second. Even so, he says that this should not be taken so seriously. Yumi, on the other hand, believes that it makes sense, saying that, from her point of view, Yu really is very beautiful, both in appearance and personality. While Maki tries to respond, she continues, stating that, precisely because of that, he should start to worry a bit more about these things. The words he just said keep echoing in her mind, leaving several doubts circling her thoughts. Did he mean that only as a friend? When night arrives, Yu and Yumi go to Maki's house. As soon as they arrive, he finishes preparing something and gives a special dessert to the two of them. Both Yu and Yumi are impressed at the first bite, liking it so much that they keep eating without stopping. Even so, they comment that, even by following the recipe, they would hardly be able to achieve that result. Maki explains that this happens because many people overlook important details during the preparation. During a relaxed moment playing video games, he is surprised by Yu's unexpected skill, while Yumi watches in silence. Later, Yumi shows interest in bringing Yu closer to Maki, but also acts unexpectedly when she returns to his apartment and takes an intimate action that leaves him confused. Over time, Yumi continues visiting his house, and the two spend calm moments together, such as reading manga, until they end up falling asleep side by side. The situation creates a tense moment when Maki's mother finds them, but everything is resolved in a controlled way, allowing Yumi to spend the night there. After a serious conversation with her son, the mother warns him about responsibility. Later, Maki and Yumi reflect on what happened and admit that they were careless. They also discuss the nature of the relationship between them, recognizing that hiding it is becoming difficult. Even so, Yumi prefers to keep everything as it is for now, and Maki agrees. The moment ends with a shy and awkward goodbye, making it clear that there are unresolved feelings between them. Back in the living room, Maki lies down on the sofa, but his mother appears and asks if he prefers to sleep in the bed with her. He accepts immediately. After all, it is much more comfortable than the sofa. The next day, Yumi takes him to her house. Maki becomes increasingly nervous as they get closer. When the door opens, it is her mother who appears. She greets not only her daughter, but also Maki. Upon hearing his last name, he becomes even more tense and makes a polite bow, formally introducing himself as Maehara Maki. Yumi is surprised to see him like that, while her mother laughs and introduces herself as Sora, commenting lightly that she is the mother of that troublesome daughter. Inside the house, while they have something to drink, Sora says that she does not mind Yumi going out to have fun, but she would like her to inform her beforehand so she does not worry. Yumi agrees and promises to be more careful, and Maki also reinforces that. Sora accepts calmly and changes the subject, suddenly asking how the two became friends. Yumi becomes visibly uncomfortable with the question and asks her mother not to touch on that subject. Sora approaches Maki and asks him to take good care of her daughter, saying that, despite her way, she is a good person. He responds with a calm smile, agreeing. Soon after, Sora enthusiastically suggests that they have sleepovers at the house, saying that this way she can feel at ease seeing them nearby. Without even waiting for an answer, she already treats the idea as something great. Yumi, hearing everything, quickly returns with the peaches and tells Maki, in a somewhat desperate tone, that he has permission to silence her mother. Later, already at school, the teacher announces that the cultural festival will take place in the following month, and that they need to choose people responsible for the organization. As no one volunteers, he decides to choose someone randomly. When picking the slips, he calls Maki, who, without any enthusiasm, realizes that he was chosen. The teacher then declares that he will be responsible for the boys. Immediately, some students begin to mock, saying that the girls will be unlucky to work with him and that whoever wins will have to take care of him as if he were a babysitting job. Maki complains in a low voice, already used to this kind of treatment, while Yu clearly shows irritation with the situation. Although Maki already expected something like this, it is still possible to notice that it affects him. At that moment, Yu stands up, walks to the front of the classroom and, with a serious tone, calls everyone's attention. Then, she directly asks if they really hate Maehara Maki, catching everyone by surprise and completely changing the atmosphere of the room. She clearly shows her irritation and, without making any effort to hide what she is feeling, directly asks the teacher if she can apply for the executive committee. Her objective is quite evident. She wants to participate alongside Maehara and has no intention of letting this opportunity pass. The teacher, on the other hand, prefers to maintain the already established criterion, which is the lottery, avoiding any kind of exception. Even so, she decides to question Maehara, seeking to know whether he agrees with the situation or if he has any objections. He responds in a calm and unconcerned manner, saying that, if that is her wish, he does not see any problem with it. At that moment, Asanagi raises her hand and announces that she was the one selected in the lottery. As soon as she sees the chosen name and understands who her partner will be, she shows a certain sense of relief and accepts to participate without hesitation. At the same time, Yu also shows interest in joining the committee, but Asanagi quickly asks her to calm down. She realizes that Yu reacted emotionally upon seeing Maehara being put under pressure, but believes that her attitude was somewhat exaggerated, which ended up leaving the entire class in an awkward situation. Yumi then decides to intervene, bringing a bit more balance to the situation. She explains that Yu should not apologize only to her, but rather to the entire class, since everyone was affected by the moment. Faced with this, Yu apologizes to all her classmates and also directly to Maehara. He, in turn, responds in a calm manner, stating that he was not bothered by what happened. Soon after, the teacher officially confirms the results. The members of the executive committee will be Yu, Yumi, and Maehara. The scene shifts to another room, where the three of them already begin working together on the planning. Maehara praises Yumi, saying that she was incredible in handling the previous situation, and she, in a somewhat playful tone, asks him to praise her even more. he realizes that, this time, he truly needs to acknowledge that. But Yumi ends up shifting the focus and says that, in fact, the one who was truly impressive was Yu. She highlights how Yu was direct and did not worry about the atmosphere in the room, acting solely based on the feeling of defending someone important to her. Even Maehara himself felt the impact of her attitude when she faced everyone without hesitation. Shortly after, Seki, the student council president, appears, announcing the beginning of the first official meeting of the cultural festival committee. Maehara notices that Yumi still seems somewhat shaken by everything that happened earlier, even while trying to hide it. Even so, he decides to do his best so that the group works well and manages to fulfill their responsibilities. After classes, Yu looks for Yumi to talk in private. She sincerely thanks her for what Yumi did for her at that moment. But Yumi responds that, in truth, the one who should be thankful is her. Yu acknowledges that, if she had not been interrupted, she would probably have ended up saying even harsher things and causing a bigger problem. Even so, in the end, Yumi expresses her gratitude sincerely for everything Yu did, showing that, despite the confusion, she valued her attitude. Later, while presenting herself in front of the class, Yumi explains that the class will be responsible for organizing an exhibition at the cultural festival. She asks that no one complain about the fact that the idea of a maid cafe was rejected and suggests that, if everyone collaborates well, it might be possible to obtain authorization for the use of cosplay on the day of the event. This possibility excites the classmates quite a lot, who begin to take more interest in the proposal. When Yumi asks if anyone has any ideas, Maehara decides to speak up and presents a project of an artistic mosaic made with cans, something that can be built collectively and draw attention during the festival. After everyone leaves the room, he shows signs of fatigue, but even so thanks Yumi for being his partner. He comments that, if he were working with Yu, he would probably feel nervous all the time because of her intensity. Yumi then responds in a light tone, saying that he should be grateful for the luck he had in the lottery. However, right after that, she reveals that, in truth, she manipulated the result to secure that position beside him. Maehara is visibly surprised upon discovering this, especially considering the tense atmosphere that had been in the room at that moment. Yumi then asks if he was bothered by what she did, perhaps expecting some kind of negative reaction. However, he responds simply that he does not mind it, and, in a symbolic manner, just records her name as the winner of the lottery, accepting the situation without creating conflict. The next day, Yu begins to help by gathering cans, organizing them by colors, separating the red ones on one side and the yellow ones on the other. After analyzing some models and trying to reproduce them, both feel that the result looks too simple. Even so, Maehara believes it is good enough and suggests that they start coloring right away, since they still need to assemble the mosaic, define the colors, punch holes in the cans, and connect them. In the middle of the work, Yu appears complaining that many cans are dirty, some even with cigarette remains inside. Maehara suggests separating the worst ones to wash later. Upon noticing a manga there, Yu asks if she can try drawing the cover. When she finishes, everyone is impressed with her skill. Yumi, upon seeing this, ends up feeling a bit discouraged, thinking that she does not have any special ability. Yu then asks about mixing the colors, and Yumi decides to leave that part under Nina's responsibility, trying to keep the progress of the project going despite her own insecurities. The atmosphere starts off light, with introductions and simple remarks, but soon the attention shifts when they notice Yu's talent. She impresses with ease, although it is clear that studying is not her strong point. At the same time, a certain regret emerges over what they did to Maehara earlier, acknowledging that they went too far, and that someone had to intervene to prevent something worse. With that, the group decides to truly come together to support him from that point onward. Later, the situation shifts into something more intimate. There is a somewhat hesitant invitation to spend time together, with some excuse involving tasks, but the real intention ends up becoming fairly obvious. The conversation turns into a light teasing about loneliness, which is quickly denied, but leaves an awkward atmosphere in the air. Even so, the decision is made. They will meet. When they finally gather, the environment becomes relaxed. The conversation flows, but soon gives space to something more personal. fatigue sets in, someone asks to rest, and that creates a somewhat ambiguous moment, with jokes about proximity and limits. Despite that, everything continues without major conflicts, until a call interrupts the mood. Amami's arrival changes everything. The tone becomes more serious, and subjects that were hidden begin to come to light. The issue of the secret between Maehara and Asanagi arises, and especially the fact that Kai did not tell anything. The next day, the atmosphere is still strange, but everyone acts as if nothing had happened. The conversations are superficial, trying to maintain normality. Even so, it becomes evident that something has not been resolved. There are doubts about what happened and who knows what. But no one has the courage to dig deeper. While they work together, an attempt at a serious conversation arises. Maehara realizes that he is being avoided and questions it directly. She asks if the two of them can talk in private. After taking him to a more secluded place, she begins to say that the relationship between them should remain a secret. In fact, Maehara had called her there because she had only seen his messages and did not respond. Even so, before getting into that matter, she comments that the most important thing right now is to finish the work they are doing. Yumi then asks if he does not want to know the reason why she has been avoiding contact. Maehara responds calmly, asking if she truly wants to talk about that at that moment. She says no, but acknowledges that, sooner or later, they will have to face that conversation. Even realizing that there is something to be said, he makes it clear that he does not intend to pressure her. When he turns to leave, Yumi hugs him from behind. She comments that his kindness is an admirable quality, but that it can also end up allowing someone to take advantage of it. And she admits that perhaps she herself is acting that way, like someone cowardly. Then, she asks if she decides to tell everything, he would be willing to listen. Maehara replies that yes, so she only asks that he wait until the end of the festival, because she intends to organize her feelings before that. She also mentions that she will talk to Yuyu about everything that has been happening. The scene shifts to the festival, where everyone is having a great time and enjoying the event. After everything goes well, Maehara meets Yumi and holds her hand. At that moment, Yuyu appears accompanied by some girls and decides to introduce them to him. However, Yuyu herself acknowledges that those are not exactly true friends. Even so, she begins to talk a little more about her own feelings, revealing her inferiority complex and making it clear that she is still dealing with it internally.